What is going on, Ravens flock? It's your man Handle here, and today we are going to be discussing a little about training camp. For the last day in, I guess, an hour or so now, the Baltimore Ravens have been having an open practice with the Washington Commanders. And to me, it's exciting times. Listen, football is closer. It's inching closer day by day. We are waiting on bated breath for the season to start. Lord, can the season please start, because the injuries are starting to mount up. Now, with the excitement of yesterday's practice, with the Ravens showing us a little something that we haven't seen from this team in some time, Devin Duvernay, Tyler Wallace, even Mark Andrews got a little bit in, showing them what Baltimore is really about. Even with all that excitement, there always has to be some bad that comes with the good when it pertains to the Baltimore Ravens. First and foremost, Ronnie Stanley has not practiced for the last 2 days. He was not practicing yesterday, and he is not practicing again today. Hopefully there are no long-term lingering issues going on from his previous injuries, and that is the one guy on the offensive line that we really cannot do without. But since no big deal has been made of this, I am going to sit here and hope for the best. But you never know. Injuries and transparency have not been one of the strong suits of John Harbaugh and the Ravens. But hopefully this is just, like I said, precautionary. And, they're giving him Veterans Days. He maybe had some little cramping or something, and he gets over it. But let's get into the real reason that we're here. Just received a report, not personally, just saw on social media that via Tom Pelissero, Mike Garofalo, whomever you want to give credit to at one of those networks, they said that Marlon Humphrey has an injury that may require a medical procedure, and he may not be ready for week 1 versus the Houston Texans. If it ain't one thing, it's another. And it's not just that he's going to be out for the rest of training camp, the rest of preseason, and maybe not be ready until week 1. But once again, now this is something that I have spoken about in previous videos as to what would happen if Marlon Humphrey went down. Same thing happened last year with the wide receiving core with Rashad Bateman, where everybody said, hey, we good. We got the young guys. We got Bateman. Everything is set up for Lamar to succeed. My question was, what happens if Bateman goes down? And everybody's like, oh, you're so negative. You're thinking of the worst. No, I'm thinking precautionary, because these things happen. We are a snake-bitten franchise that has had to deal with injuries for many a season. And I was told, hey, we good. We got the young guys behind him. If Bateman goes down, everything's going to run smooth. Fast forward to this offseason, where I grabbed my sword and I championed the push to re-sign Marcus Peters. A lot of people said Marcus Peters washed. We don't need him. We have all this young talent. We have these draft picks, and we brought in some people to compete for that cornerback 2 and 3 spot. We also have Brandon Stevens in the fold, so we're good. And I'm like, hey, what if something happens to Marlon Humphrey? Then we're going to just be up a creek without a paddle. Once again, hey, we got these young guys. They're going to come in and they're going to do their thing. We need not worry.
6.5 hours later.
Now look at us. Arthur Milletta's down. Trayvon Mullins is down. Jalen Armour Davis and Pepe Williams stay hurt. Rock Ya-Sin, the guy that we signed to replace Marcus Peters, he's been out for a while. We don't really know the extent of his injury because they're really not saying much about it. So don't know how long he's going to be out. So now we have a bunch of street vendors masquerading as corners running around out there. And it's fine for training camp and it's fine for joint practices. But once we start to get live ammunition and live bullets flying in real games, what is going to happen? What is the extent of Marlowe's injury? But never fear, the Purple Lantern Corps is here to go through all of the scrap heaps and all of the loose bargain bins to go shopping for replacement corners that can possibly take over. So let's look into who is still available that may be still may be semi-decent and can play or hold down the fort until reinforcements come. So first and foremost, I think there may be about three semi halfway decent adjacent talented players. Talent adjacent. Talent adjacent. Not going to say that they're really talented because once again, there have been a lot of injuries to cornerbacks and these guys are still on the street. But for what we have going on right now, they may have to suffice. So I'm going to look at Ronald Darby. He's an Oxon Hill, Maryland native. He's 29 years old, formerly of the Eagles, Broncos, He went to Florida State, so that's a positive. I don't know what he has left in the tank. His play is not as it was many years ago, but hey, beggars can't be choosers, and we have to go with what's out there. So he may be a suitable fill-in replacement. He's definitely not cornerback one, but like I said, we need somebody to hold down the fort until Marlowe can come back and whomever else gets healthy during that time frame. Next up, we have Troy Hill, the former Los Angeles Ram and Cleveland Browns. He's 31. He's a decent corner. Nothing special. Like I said, by the time you get into this portion of the season and there's still free agents left on the board, you got to get what you can get. That's pretty much it. Troy Hill. Troy Hill may be someone that can stand in. He started off decent. He had a really good start when he was with the Rams. When he went to the Browns, I don't know, maybe it's just the Browns defense to fit Joe Wood, defensive coordinator, but he just didn't play up to that large contract that he signed when he went with them. Next up, we have Casey Hayward. He's a veteran. He was a star cornerback with the Los Angeles Chargers. Hasn't been that well. He's a little on the older side. He's 33 years old. Not to say that that's too old to play corner, but his skills have greatly diminished. But he was once a star. Sometimes the athleticism goes, but the intelligence picks up. Maybe he was somebody that we can sign to hold down the fort. The Ravens were actually looking at him earlier in the offseason, but decided not to go with him. I don't know if he's in shape. He's somebody we can look at. And last but not least, we have William Jackson III, former first-round pick by the Cincinnati Bengals in 2016. Now, he did not live up to his first-round billing and decided that he needed a change, went over to the Washington Commanders. I think he was there for brunch and a light supper, and they kind of let him go because he just couldn't play. He just wasn't really that good. Then he transitioned over to the Pittsburgh Steelers last season. Even with the talent deficiency that the Steelers had in the defensive backfield, he just couldn't cut it. He just wasn't good enough to play. But once again, that's another gentleman that we recently, I think we brought him in for an interview, or we were leading up to bringing him in to talk to him. So as you can see, we can either go in the direction of take a chance with this guy or bide time with the gentleman that we already have in tow. This is not an ideal scenario. I know hopefully Marlowe gets healthy pretty soon. Hopefully Ronnie Stanley gets healthy, because injuries have derailed this team for the last several seasons. This is why a lot of us tend to harp on the 2019 season, and we are a little bit upset because 2019, the injuries were minimal. Throughout this franchise's history, and especially since, let's go from 2013 on, injuries have really mucked this team up. In 2019, we were fully healthy, except for maybe the Mark Ingram and the going into the playoffs, but in general, team is pretty healthy. We lost out on a great opportunity, and since then, injuries have cut our season short year after year. Hopefully this will not be a repeat. Hopefully these guys can come back sooner rather than later, be fully healthy for the extent of the regular season, or the Ravens are just gonna have to go make a trade. I know we don't want to give up that draft capital. I know EDC wants to keep his picks and pick all the guys that he can, regardless if they can play or not, but something has to change. We have to bring in somebody that's going to help. This is a passing league. We need cornerbacks. I know that these joint practices are going to help them kind of speed up the process to see who can actually play, because the Commanders may not be an offensive juggernaut right now, but they do have some key offensive weapons. Jahan Dotson, Ron Robinson, my man Scary Terry. Like, they have pieces to kind of see during the one-on-ones, to see during the little scrimmages, can these guys play? Because against the Eagles backups, most of the guys didn't have a good time. Now, what are we going to do with Darryl Worley? Are we going to leave him as safety? Or are we going to bring him back to corner? Because Brandon Stevens has struggled mightily. The young guys, the other guys, I mean, what do you expect? Some of them are undrafted free agents, just guys that have not made an impact in the NFL, but you expect them to come into training camp and now be elevated into positions that they weren't normally in when it first started. When we had a full complement of cornerbacks, now they're put into positions higher than what they expected going in. Some of these guys need time to develop. Some of these guys need coaching. But as always, we have to throw guys into the fray, throw them into the fire, and have them learn by trial. So all I'm saying is, Marlowe, I know we joke you for your Twitter. I know we joke you for your takes on a lot of things, but in all seriousness, we need you healthy. We need you to come back. We need you to be right. Because if we have to depend on Brandon Stevens to kind of carry the load, we are in a heap of trouble. So that's the video for today. Appreciate you guys for hanging out, checking out the video. Make sure to come back for your Baltimore Ravens news. Also later today, make sure you check out Coach Evans, Sip the Tally. He's going to have his call-in show at 5:30. I'm sure he's going to also do training camp breakdowns later on and some position battles. And also 7:15 tonight, 7:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you check out Lunch Break Hot Take, Jose and Brody. They're going to wrap all of this up in a nice little bow. Very entertaining. Make sure that y'all check out the fan. Once again, like, subscribe, all that good jazz. Until next time, I'll see you. It's your boy.